Bruce Forsyth, The Price of Success.
Nice to see you.
Yes, is. It's the 15th of April.
Wow.
Mate! I can't believe we made it this far. Usually I'd be dead by the 14th of April.
There's still time.
Okay. Nothing will ever befall me that I will receive with gloom or bad disposition. I will pay my taxes gladly. Now, all the things which cause complaint or dread are like the taxes of life things from which my dear Lucilius should never hope for exemption or seek escape. Seneca.
I didn't think you were going to remix it like that.
Seneca.
Seneca.
Well, I did Lucilius.
Sorry, mate.
I've got a little mouth. It's hard, guys. I didn't know what I was signing
Say
up
Lucilius.
for. You said you give me all the Marcus Aurelius ones. Never mind. So the price of success, right? There's a bit of a stereotype, okay? Most stereotypes, there's a bit of truth in them, but the stereotype for recruiters, don't say anything. Some of them watch, don't upset them. I would say is they work long hours.
Busy noses.
Busy noses. They keep busy. They work long hours. And I would say that the price of success, there's a fine line of like hustle culture, grind culture, working late. Nobody likes a busy fool. But actually, I think if you're going to be successful in anything, and especially sales, I think you have to put in like the extra work. And maybe that might just be the first couple of years to kickstart the engine. And that doesn't mean cold call from 7 till 7 o'clock. But it might mean that at 5:30 when you finish, you're listening to a podcast. You've got an audio book. You're reviewing things from the day. But like, if you really, really, really want to be successful, and I also think that you can probably fast track. So many people that work in sales have got the same 10 years. They've got the same year 10 times rather than 10 years experience. So I think that you can actually change your life so quickly if you put the time and effort in.
There's a saying or a quote, there is no progress, only trade-offs. Who said it? That's what I want to know first and foremost.
There is no progress, only trade-offs.
There is no progress, only trade-offs. Thomas Sowell said this quote, the great economist.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people should be aware of. It's definitely something that I have felt, particularly since starting the business, that actually with each bit of progress, you trade your problems. And actually, I was with some of our old school friends last night, and I've got children that are a few years older, and they were like, "Oh, what do you get at this age?" And actually, it's actually
the question is, what do you lose as well?
It's like a give and take to it. It's like there is progress, but there's trade-offs. You get things and you take things. So when it's just me and you in the business, it's like, okay, there's things here that are good, and then when you add people to the team, you gain things, but you also lose things. Yeah. And I actually remember saying to you, obviously it was like we've got all these clients that we're trying to do just ourselves in that first few months, and then before our first new hires started saying we should probably just enjoy this last week because it'll probably never feel the same as this again. Yeah. And having those moments of recognizing that. But I also think it keeps you honest to remember that as well, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. So that goal line that you hit of I've got X amount of money, or then I become a sales director, or whatever it is that you're working towards, there'll be that moment of, oh, I feel like I've gained something, but actually I lost a bit as well with that, and just recognizing that there is that give and take in life. Yeah.
Something that we don't talk a lot about in like life as well, and I'd be interested to hear if you've got anything from the Stoics on this, but is grief, okay? And like mourning, and typically we think of the dead when we think of that, but actually that is parts of life as well. Like that could be a job, that could be a quarter, that could be a moment, that could be a boss, that could be working with a certain colleague or whatever. I was in the band for years, and when the band ended, although I was happy and I was excited to go on to new ventures, there was still a little bit of time where I was like grieving that, because that becomes a part of who you are. We talk about like constantly changing your identity, but throughout life you will mourn and grieve certain periods, and I think it's important that that's okay as well, to maybe feel frustration if you're moving into a new role or a new challenge or a new venture or a new skill maybe.
Stoicism, there is no God in Stoicism. The universe is God. So they talk about that we're all part of we're all one in the same. We're all part of a system, and the universe gives and the universe takes. But because of that, what they believe, and I think it's a much nicer way of thinking about things, is when you die, you just get returned back to the universe. So in the same ground that gives you food, that feeds people, and you're part of a system.
Yeah.
And actually, it's just like that's the conveyor belt that you're on. And there's a story about Marcus Aurelius on his deathbed. He was very ill for a few days, and there was a point where people gathered around, they all thought he died. And then he woke up and he saw everyone crying. And he's like, why are you crying for me? I'm an old man that's going back to where I came from. But we've got big problems out there. There's wars going on. There's a plague happening. And I've not seen any of you shed a tear about that.
Yeah.
So make sure you're focusing your tears in the right space.
That's beautiful. That's really nice. I guess the only thing it makes me question is, why did you tell me off camera that when you die, you go and get a job at Costco?
No, you go to Swansea.
Okay. Have a sick time in Swansea. I've been Jack Frimston.
I've been Taz Hassan.
Remember, you will die.
Please.